Welcome to Girlish Gurus. I'm Joy.
And I'm Susan. And we're here to have discussions about topics on many subjects that we hope are informative, uplifting, and fun.
So, let's get started.
Let's. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Girlish Gurus.
Hello, hello.
And today we have a very special guest with us. We always love it when we have guests. This is a friend of mine for many years. We've known each other since junior high school, which I'm not going to tell you how many years that is, but it's a lot. And it's my friend Tammy Redmond. Tammy is a holistic time management coach, and she is really passionate about helping women who are overwhelmed to kind of simplify their lives and learn how to better manage all the things that are part of our lives so that it fits together comfortably and joyfully, and that they can enjoy every aspect of their life. Tammy's located just south of Nashville. And formerly, before she started her coaching business, she was in real estate as an agent and an inspector. She's a mom of 2. She's married and has some fur babies and a pretty full life, I think. So
I do.
Tammy,
Welcome.
and we appreciate so much that you agreed to join us today.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so interested in learning what made you decide to switch careers and what prompted you to start your coaching business. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I think it all started while I was running my real estate appraisal business. I kept getting the question asked over and over again, why and how I can accomplish so much and not look and feel like I'm overwhelmed. And I was realizing that my day-to-day looked a little different than most people do. And my take on time management didn't look like all the other time management things that you would see on the internet. A lot of them were tools, but they weren't really a program. And a lot of the programs that were out there were based for men.
Okay.
Right.
So when I decided to move to Tennessee, because my children were down here, so I wanted to come spend time with them. And I wanted to get out of the cold.
Yay, amen.
So, and the snow and all of that fun stuff. So that way I headed down here and I closed down my real estate appraisal business. And I just decided that women needed some guidance in the area of time management. So I decided to create an online coaching business.
Okay. So, you mentioned that the way you managed your time was a little different than what you were seeing out there. So kind of, could you maybe share with us your philosophy and how you came up with the model that you are using and are helping other women to implement and use for their own lives?
Yeah, when I looked around, again, as I mentioned, a lot of these things were focused towards men, not really towards women. And
Right.
men work at work, are at home, or have a wife at home to manage their home time. But women work a little differently. We kind of look at the whole big picture. Mm-hmm. What we're looking at is we're working while we're at work, absolutely. But when we take a break, because we all have to take a break, we start thinking about the groceries. What's for dinner? Did I pull something out for dinner? Do I need to go to the grocery store? So our minds start going everywhere. And I think that's sometimes where the chaos ensues, instead of understanding that that's the way we're designed. So embrace it, move forward. Don't try to fit your life and your time management into the structure of what is intended towards men. Basically what it is you just need to understand and learn what creates energy for you, what steals the energy from you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So much of that, when we're just going along with our lives and we're not intentionally focusing on that, where we even know that. I think most women right now don't even know that as to what it is.
I think you're right. And you're exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, and to manage your time, you need to look at your whole life. You need to look at your work life. You need to look at your home life. You need to look at your fun life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say fun life, too many people don't even know what that is. And women have as a tendency, when we start getting chaotic and we start getting overwhelmed, the first thing to go is the fun.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, and the fun is what gives you the energy.
That's true. Yeah, because
and to move forward. So
we tend to put everybody else first most of the time.
we do.
Yeah.
We do. And then, or the tasks, or the job,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, anything. You know, a lot of times we have family that we put first, and not that we shouldn't put our family
Right.
Right.
in a high spot. But
You can't
and
pour
when it
from an
comes-
empty cup.
You cannot. I mean, and think about this on when we all fly on the airplanes. They talk about the oxygen mask dropping, that if you're with somebody else, a child or anybody else, you have to put your mask on first before you're supposed to be helping anybody else.
Right.
I mean, and that's just another way of saying what you did, Joy, is, you know, you have to pour in before you can pour out.
Yes.
Because if you keep pouring out, then there at some point there's not going to be anything left.
That's right.
So it really comes down to pulling it all together. And it's not necessarily about, you know, these tools that we see as time blocking or planners or, you know, color-coded charts and all that type of thing. You know, to me, when I start healing that I just got a knot in my stomach. And it just physically, which, you know, we have all that intuition coming out of our stomach, so which is why our stomach hurts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you get that knot and you just, you know, you have to manage your time better, but you're sitting here thinking, oh, the thought of trying to make one more thing fit into my life. And when time management is done right, it's supposed to be easy. And it should fit into your life. Now, that does take some intention up front, realizing what should stay in your schedule and what should go from your schedule.
Right.
Right. Because if you can learn how to do it in the best way possible for you, it's actually going to simplify things.
Right.
And I think that's where the holistic part comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely. It takes into consideration the whole person
Okay.
and all different aspects of that.
A very interesting and unique approach.
So,
It
Tammy,
is.
maybe describe your typical client and why they have chosen to engage with you and the process that they go through in order to do that typically.
Right. My typical client obviously is a woman.
Yeah.
Because that's who I'm, you know, really, really good at working with, because I'm a woman and I understand the mindset and where we are. And it's a woman who is very busy, overwhelmed, can accomplish a lot, but is feeling the stress of trying to get all of this done. And you feel pulled in 100 different directions, struggling at this point to even determine what is the priority. Because when you are in a state of chaos, you get this decision fatigue so fast that you're not even sure how to make those decisions. So that's the woman that I really like to work with, because I can make a difference. I can make an impact. And she's at the end of a rope. She just doesn't know where to go. And adding one more thing on feels too much.
That you just described so many
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
women.
Right.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
Moms, particularly, who are juggling children. And a lot of women. And they don't teach this in school. All the useful things like that. You're kind of left to your own devices as far as that goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it is if we think back to our parents, or my mom didn't work. But even if your mom did work, the reality is there weren't the same amount of pressures as there are now.
No.
There weren't as many options of everything. And I think sometimes we think we have to do it all.
Right.
And it comes down to almost too many options is worse
Right.
than not enough options.
And we were told that we could do it all.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're
and you
not
can't.
right, if you're falling down on the job somewhere, you get into that cycle of I should be able to do it all and I can't. Right.
Right. And if you're a high achiever and you want to get a lot of stuff done, then that's, you feel those pressures. I mean, I was just talking to a woman the other day, and she's actually a stay-at-home mom, and she was struggling with a lot of the time pressures, and to the point where she put the kids down for a nap because she has young ones, and she had a laundry list of things that she needed to do, and she sat down and she couldn't do anything. She was literally frozen in place. It was because she was exhausted. Mm-hmm. And, you have to take the time and give yourself permission. Okay, you're exhausted. You can't do this stuff. You can't make the right decisions. So it's maybe nap time. When the kids are sleeping, you take a nap. Mm-hmm. But she felt guilty because she was taking a nap. And I think, okay, wait a minute, we're missing something here.
Yeah.
We should, if she's not getting enough sleep at night because the little ones are up. I mean, and it's not part of life. It's what happens. You're not going to change that.
Right.
At least not for a few years. But you need to give yourself permission to rest when you need. And the most productive thing that I've run into for me personally is rest and sleep. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm tired, one, I make bad decisions, or I have to go back and redo everything I just did. Mm-hmm. So I either get my 7 hours of sleep at night, or if I don't, or even sometimes when I do, I'm exhausted from whatever I'm doing, I take a nap.
Right.
And when I get up, I am so more productive than I would have been trying to push through.
Right.
And I can get things done in a faster period of time.
That's so interesting you say that, because just as a little aside here, as a bankruptcy attorney, I would meet with clients and we would go through all their situation, financial issues, etc. And then I would tell them, I don't want you to sign your paperwork today. I want you to go home and get a really good night's sleep and then make a decision the next day about whether or not you're going to sign up. Because when you're tired, you are not going to make as good a decision as you would if you're fully rested and you're feeling as well as you can in that circumstance. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a very, very big deal. And also diets and things like that. If you're tired, it makes it harder to stick to a diet, and it makes it harder to be mindful of how you're spending money, all kinds of things. It's just, that's such a big deal. Yeah.
And well, you make bad decisions then.
Yes.
Because you're
tired.
So basically it's like a gas tank, you're on E.
Right.
If you got to fill that back up if you want to keep running in the right direction. And I mean, somewhere along the line, society kept saying, "Oh, you're sleep when you're dead." No, you'll be dead if you keep going without sleep.
Right.
And the stress, for me too, the stress is always the other thing I think that affects or impacts our decision making. So if you're completely feeling stressed and on edge all the time, you're not going to make the best decisions. You're going to make the decision that's going to be the easiest and the quickest to make, even if it's not the right one. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So important.
Yeah.
Wow. This really is going to touch so many people out there.
Well,
really.
Yeah, because you need energy to make good decisions. Mm-hmm. If you're exhausted, it's not going to work.
Right.
And we need to throw that guilt away.
That's what I was just going to say.
Now you've really opened the can of worms. There it goes.
The guilt and the shame that we place upon ourselves because we aren't getting enough done. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just, I think we've all done it. Still, I still do it too. I go, oh, no, why couldn't you have gotten that done today too? You had time. And heaven forbid you actually sit down for 5 minutes just to take a breath, right?
Yeah.
I should have been. Shoulda. So yeah, the guilt and the shame is a biggie too.
And add on top of all of it, this fun phase of menopause we're all going through.
That's right.
Yes.
That is a whole other special sauce on the sandwich.
Oh,
It
that's
is
everything.
just something else. So, yeah, we could talk about that all day long. But
So,
I know.
Tammy, are there certain things that you recommend for your clients as far as de-stressors or ways to make time in their days that are already busy to just care for themselves, to provide some self-care?
Well, one of the things that I recommend all the time is to be intentional with your schedule. Be intentional about when you do the things that take the most focus, and when you're going to do, because we all have other things that you need to do that are not going to take quite the same amount of focus. You need to understand, when do you function the best? As a knee-jerk reaction, almost everybody says, I function best in the morning, but I'm betting that's not the truth for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You got to focus and really take a look at, when do you do the best work? And everybody is totally different. I'm an absolutely morning person. I have been my whole life. I can get up, and my husband always tells me I'm going to solve the problems of the world the first thing in the morning. But if you ask me a simple question at 9 o'clock at night, I can't even answer you. I am done. I'm toast. There's no more more coming out of my brain. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when I stop taking anything that's going to take a lot of bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if I don't do so well after 3 o'clock with any focus.
Yeah.
That needs to be done in the morning for me. And when we start realizing and paying attention to the times where we can do a lot more, and it is different depending on your work schedule, because if you are working, sometimes it's not always a possibility depending on things, but you can structure your weekends. You can structure to get things done outside of work. But when you're working, if you're a morning person, then put all your analytic, your creative type of work in the morning. If you're an evening person or a night person, or somebody that functions a little bit better later in the day, then after lunch, that's when you should start putting your focus tasks that you need to do. And when we focus on that and understand our own way of doing things, you're going to naturally become more productive.
Right.
And I guess the whole idea of a holistic time management approach is to understand when you are the most productive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think you kind of start to learn that as you get older, but I'm sure you have a method, which that's the teaser. You're going to have to contact Tammy if you want to figure out her method. But I'm sure there are methods to figure out your peak times. I think, Joy, I know you're a later in the day person by far. I'll start all of a sudden hearing from her at 7:30 at night, and then I'll get a text, and then another half hour later I get another text.
Yeah.
Because she just starts cranking out stuff in the evening. And I think I actually have a little bit, I'll be energetic in the morning, and then I have a lull. And then if I start back up at like 4 or 5, I get another round of energy, and I can do quite a bit of work from like that 4 to 6 time range too.
Right. And you need to give yourself permission during that middle of the day to do something that doesn't
require
like
my brain.
Other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sort of the person who, I'm not a morning person. I don't really wake up all the way and get my brain moving until 9:30ish, give or take. And then I can go until, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But then I got to sleep later because I do need, a full night's sleep. So, yeah,
you absolutely need that.
Yep, for
absolutely.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But the beauty is once you know that, then you can start putting your tasks, making your appointments depending on the appointment, because some appointments, like a hair appointment, that's great to do on your off time.
That's right.
But if you're making your appointments for work where you need to be creative, you need to be focused on whatever it is that you're doing, then you need to make sure that's during your go times.
Right.
Right.
You really do, and that will make a huge difference
agree.
in your productivity and how you manage your time, because you're going to be aware. And I think sometimes that what it comes down to is you need to be aware of that. And we live our lives and we go through, but we don't think all the time about ourselves and how are we functioning. We need to tune into that.
Yeah. That's the whole, like you said, that's kind of the holistic approach, because it isn't necessarily about what's going to fit for everybody else. It's what works for us so that we can be the highest functioning during the day. And sadly, if you're in an office environment and you're working for somebody else, it's not as easy to do maybe as you would like, because if meetings are set and you have to go, you kind of have to adapt and adjust. Do you have any advice for people like that who are kind of, I mean, I know you work a lot with entrepreneurial women, but are like for someone who's in a fixed schedule with a office job, that they're kind of at the mercy of someone else's time in a way?
We always have a little bit of control over our schedule. I mean, you can't control it if they're saying, hey, Monday morning at 9:00, you have to be up at this meeting.
Right.
Then you kind of got to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But when you're scheduling your lunch and you're scheduling your times that you are doing the tasks, because you have your tasks, whatever they are, whether some take more focus than others. Again, it comes down to that.
Okay. Yeah.
And you just got to figure that out. And even though you're in that office from 9 to 5, and maybe you do, your best work in the evening, you don't want to work when you're at home when you're doing that, but you can put those later in the day.
Yeah.
You can put some of those schedules that are more intense things a little bit later in the day. Or if you're a morning person, then you try to move them to the morning. I mean, it just comes down to, you have to figure out which works best for you. Experiment. Try it.
True. Yeah, I guess that's one way of trying to figure it out. I think probably with the change in our work atmospheres now since COVID, we do seem, a lot of offices are giving the employees more flexibility about when they work. They kind of leave it up to them, hopefully, and allow them to decide, when am I going to be most productive? And as long as they're getting their work done, I think they're pretty happy with that. Now, some are a little more, I don't want to say controlling, but you know what I mean? Like they're actually being very micromanaged, I guess, by their companies with some of those time, measurers on computers and stuff. But I think more than not, companies are trying to be a little more flexible, which then hopefully will help most women to be able to work in the prime time that works best for them.
It also, I think, depends on what kind of work you do.
It does.
There are so many factors that figure in.
Yeah.
There really are. Because if you're doing a job where you have to, there can be delivery drivers, there can be people that work in the restaurant industry or the hospitality industry. They have to be on site and they have to be doing a lot of those things, but they all require different levels of focus at different times. And again, you just need, I think we always tend to gravitate a little bit more to the type of careers that are allowing us our work schedules. Not always. Not always. And, as I've gotten older, I've gotten earlier and earlier and earlier.
I have too, actually. But like, I think about my niece, she's a nurse. And it took her a while after she started working to realize that she was not a morning person. She just is not. And so lucky for her, that career is very flexible in the kind of hours you can work and that kind of thing. And so now she sets up her schedule so that she's working mostly later in the day or night shifts. And that just works better for her. And it makes for a much more calm life for her, where I couldn't do that. There's just no way. So
Solidarity. I'm right there with her. Really.
oh my goodness.
Yep. I waited many tables in my life. And I did all through undergraduate school. And I really did. And for me, that dinner shift was always the best one because I was
energetic and okay.
Yep. So I'm right there with her. Mm-hmm.
Well, Joy, did you have any other questions for Tammy?
Well, I think the most important thing we need to talk about here in the next few minutes of the podcast is we need to give Tammy an opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find these resources that she has that can help women learn to manage their time in a more holistic and efficient way. That is so important to make sure there's connections so women can get access to this information because, again, we're not taught how to do this in school, right?
No.
So, Tammy, can you let us know how our listeners can reach out to you or find your material and your content?
A lot of it is on my website, which is tammyredmond.com.
And we'll put all this in the description, too.
Yes, we will.
And, or you can find me on my socials, which on Instagram, it's Tammy Redmond Coach, and it's Tammy Redmond Coach on page on my Facebook page as well. And I always have a lot of information on there. And it's speaking to a lot of this. And on my website, I have my coaching information where I do group coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, and soon to be coming down the pike is going to be some quicker courses because that are going to be 3 or 4 different sessions that they can purchase, and they can do it as self-study type thing. So
that's
that'll be
nice.
coming down
Wonderful.
the pike too.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention one thing that I would recommend to every woman that is out there is I want you to have some fun. And I want you to schedule the fun in your life. And 2 reasons. One, the anticipation of fun will give you energy. But having the fun gives you energy. And then when you have the energy, you become more productive.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you manage your time better.
I love that.
I applaud that. That's for sure. Joy and I talk about that all the time. I don't think either of us made enough time for that fun in our previous careers.
Nope.
And we have worked very hard to make sure that we include that in what we're doing now. And it's very important to both of us. Life is short.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we put everything and everybody ahead of us. And we get lost along the way. We might not even know what fun is.
I think some of us lose track of that.
Very true. Very true.
But even having just coffee with a friend, it doesn't have to be long. Just take an hour and chat with somebody.
Right.
And watch how you're going to be uplifted after you walk out of there.
Oh, yes.
Something that will feed your soul.
Yes, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
That's so important. I've been thinking a lot because, not for nothing, but being a bankruptcy attorney, people don't expect you to come, waving your fun flag to wherever you're going. So for me, I've been thinking a lot about, okay, how can I find fun in the work that I'm doing? And that has been sort of like the number one box that needs to be checked. If I'm embarking on a new project or something of that nature, I need to find some fun in it. And one thing I can always say is that Susan and I always have fun when we're together.
We do.
Always have fun when we're together.
That is the greatest thing. And you guys are probably just feed off one another and have a lot of energy.
We do.
We do. It's so much fun.
It really is uplifting when you get the chance to work with someone who does have that same thing in mind that you do, that we want to find joy in what we do every day. I know. Go ahead.
You can never have too much joy.
That's her signature line.
Yay.
It is a perfect line.
I know.
Sometimes I can be a little too much. I'm sorry. a little extra.
Oh, goodness. Well, Tammy, I was telling a friend of mine that we were having this session with you today. And she goes, oh, I'm going to listen to that one. And she's actually just building a new coaching business and getting her website set up and just getting ready to launch and figuring out how to garner clients. She's finished up her training, and I'm very excited for her. So don't be surprised if you hear from her after this session. And she was a guest on our show earlier this year, Kathy Fletcher. So
That would be great.
yeah.
I love talking like that.
Absolutely. And in this age of entrepreneurial endeavor, this is something that's really important, is learning how to have a good balance, especially when you're just getting started on something, because otherwise, if you don't figure that out, you are going to be 24/7 in that whirlwind, and that's not good for you. It's not good for your relationships. It's not good for anything. So if you can get that time management issue sorted out quickly,
Right.
then you're way ahead of the game.
Well, and I think
and another thing I talk about a lot is boundaries.
Yeah.
Is how to set them, how to keep them.
And
Yes.
that's so important, because I was just thinking how when you're in an office job like I was, it like so many times your schedule is set for you in a way.
Right.
So setting boundaries really is difficult, can be very difficult to do. And so if you decide especially to go on your own and do something more entrepreneurial, to then all of a sudden realize, oh, wait, I've got to set my own boundaries in my own time and figure out how to do that and still get everything done without killing myself. It's a transition. And now with a lot more people going to that, doing like gig work or entrepreneurial, trying to start their own businesses, they're going to need that advice even more. So you can be a big help.
I've been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years. Again, showing my age there. But
As we all
so
are.
I started when I was like 4.
That's right.
Started when I was 4. But
2.5.
there we go. But the thought for me to go and work for somebody else just is not a good fit for me. But I understand, and I had to go through that too. I had to learn how to set those boundaries, because there was a point in time when I was working way too much.
Yep.
And I learned how to set the boundaries, how to work the schedule, and how to do it. And this is something for me that's always been very simple and easy and flows once I recognize it.
Right.
But I've realized that that's not the case for everybody.
No, it isn't. It absolutely isn't.
Which is why I want to help everybody with that.
Exactly. We're not conditioned that way. We are taught to achieve, and that means working yourself to the bone. And I'm guilty of that. I did that for years as an attorney. I did it for years. I was working 7 days a week. I was working 18-hour days. I was working. So I feel right there for you. Anybody out there who needs this kind of help, if you feel like you're drowning, and this will also help prevent burnout.
Yes, it will.
Oh, it'll stop the burnout.
Yeah.
It'll stop it dead, and you'll heal. You'll come back and you'll remember who you were before you did all that.
And why you're doing the work in the first place.
Yeah.
Because successful work is going to come from a place of knowing your why, and not just I'm trying to get the cash.
Right.
So,
well, it can't be focused on the money.
No.
Because if you do something just focused on the money, maybe you'll get money for a while, but you are going to burn out so fast, and you're going to hate what you're doing after a period of time.
Right.
You have to have a bigger purpose than that.
yes.
I mean, we all like money, but that can't be the only.
Right.
It can't be the only function. You really have to focus on what you want. And I think that's also sometimes as women don't even know what they want.
Right.
Because they've spent so many years and so many things just following and going in a routine that somebody else set for them.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah. So figuring out that I like to call it your mission or your calling, figuring out what that is, and then being able to adapt your life to pursue that is important.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff right there. Such good stuff.
Well, Tammy, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts. And we know you're there. We're going to direct people towards you to help them based on what you've learned in all your years of working and motherhood and building a home and a career. All the tools and the tricks and the...
Just your experience.
Yeah.
Just everything that
All
your
of
hacks, everything that you have, that
just sharing all of that.
That brings so much more to the table. Not just you deciding you want to be a coach, but this comes from your life experience. So that brings so much more to the table, and that makes it so much more valuable and useful.
It really does.
Yeah.
So
we'll send people your way as much as we possibly can.
Yeah,
because this is important stuff.
It is.
Well, it comes from my heart, and it's something that I know will make an impact in women's lives. And that's really an important thing for me.
We feel the same way.
We do
feel the
very much
same way.
so. Having been there, both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this is a big one. Yeah.
It is. All right. Well, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome, and we'll have you back again. Yes, we'll have you back again. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Do we have a little something for our listeners from Tammy?
We do. Tammy was kind enough to provide us with a little freebie.
Yay.
For all of our listeners and viewers, and you can find that in the description or notes of the podcast or the video. And now's the perfect time to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Tammy. That was very generous and kind. If you're listening, which I know you will be.
And thank you again for your time. We so appreciate it. It was great.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Girlish Gurus. We hope you'll join us next time for another fun and interesting topic. And please be sure to check the notes for information and links that were included in this discussion today.
Also, don't forget you can find us on our social media platforms, starting with Instagram, Facebook, and now, including YouTube. You can find us by searching Girlish Gurus. And please remember to give this episode a good review and share it with your girlfriends, because the more interaction we get with our podcast episodes, the more episodes we can post. Finally, you can find us on our website, girlishgurus.com.
Thanks again.
See you next time.
Bye.